Nomad News: Trade, Communication, Cultural Diffusion by Sally Chambers and Alyssa Barrett.
Historian Martha Roberts has revised the views on nomads by changing the stereotypes of barbaric savages. Roberts has done much research on nomadic people's trade. Although the Seljuk and the Ottoman Turks battled with the Byzantine Empire commonly, they also engaged in a lot of trade with them. Roberts also acknowledges that the Mamluks engaged in trade with the Mongols. She also states that the Huns and Xiongnu traded and not only warred with the many Chinese civilizations throughout the years. She concludes that even though the nomadic people did engage in stereotypical warring activities, they also engaged in much cross-cultural trade. This past week, I've talked with John Miller about the evolving views on nomadic people in the post-classical era. Miller specializes in communication between different nomadic tribes. Nomads were the most open-minded of their time, which allowed them to have relations with other civilizations such as China and Persia. These key relationships allowed for the Mongols and Turks to expand communication between the East and West. Communication increased due to the restoration and expansion of the Silk Roads throughout China. Both Mongols, Turks, and Xiongnu were able to expand their communication base through long-distance trading. Recently, historian Sadie Black has changed her view on nomadic people during the post-classical era. Nomadic people were first thought to be a kind of their own and not be similar to any other cultures. But recently, it has been noted that much cultural diffusion has taken place between the nomads and other civilizations. The Turks adopted many traditions from the Middle Eastern civilizations, states Black. She also talked about how the Yuan dynasty in China used the existing political structure in China. Other civilizations also adopted their ways. For example, Chinese horses, says Black. The cultural diffusion involving nomadic people that occurred during the post-classical era greatly contributed to the overall culture of the world.
The Xiongnu were originally known as fearsome warriors who would invade and raid cities for personal gain. They were known as heartless fighting machines that would do anything to help themselves. It has now been accepted that the Xiongnu were leaders in cross-cultural trade and cultural diffusion. They also focused mainly on their herds, and fighting was not their only accomplishment. The Mongols were first thought to be only barbaric savages who were fearsome warriors and were willing to give up anything in battle. They were known for their superior archery and equestrian skills that were always flaunted on the battlefield. The Mongols are now thought of more as a calmer pastoralist tribe who spent a lot of time tending to their horses and other herds. With this commitment to their animals came strong battle skills that were at one point used very violently. But this short period of time is not the legacy that the Mongols have left behind. On the contrary, it is now believed that the Huns did bother China from time to time, but were also a big part of the Silk Roads. They are known for contributing goods and acting as middlemen on the extensive trade network that connected much of the known world in the post-classical era. Not right now. At the beginning of the time when the Ottoman Turks were in power, they were thought of as just another short-lived nomadic tribe that captured a large amount of land but stood no chance of keeping it for an extended period of time. But towards the end of their reign, they were given some of the credit they deserved as an economically strong and stable ruling power. They had a strong military, which was expected of them, But they also had a powerful ruling government court and structure that endured many of the centuries of hard times. The Seljuk Turks were not known for being militarily strong, but they did use horses. They tried to take part of the Byzantine Empire and failed miserably. They are a great example of how all of the nomadic tribes from the post-classical era are not all the same. But, towards the end of their reign, they were given some of the credit they deserve as an economically strong and stable ruling power. They had a strong military, which was expected of them, but they also had a powerful ruling government court and structure that endured many of the centuries of hard times. While the Mamluks were ruling, they were known as the Slave Dynasty. They did not do much conquering, but rather just ruled alongside other empires. They had a strong military, but it was mostly used for defense and not expansion. The new views on the Mamluks are not much different than the old. It is still acknowledged that they had a strong defensive military, but it is now thought that even though they were known as the Slave Dynasty, the slavery that took place there was not much more than what took place everywhere else. Other places were just better at covering up all the signs of slavery. The nomadic people have many negative stereotypes attached to their name. Although some of the received ideas are accurate, in many cases there were more to the nomads than that many people just overlooked and labeled them as savage fighting machines. The cliché idea of the nomadic people is one that describes them as pastoralist herders that had prized horses and strong archery skills. And because of these strong skills, they were powerful on the battlefield. In most cases, this is true about the nomads, but in other cases, this is very false. The new view on the nomadic people is that they were people who are all very different. Some of them flourished economically, while others became strong rulers of much of Eurasia. Others remained very militarily strong, but some even remained mostly herders. Others became raiders, and some transformed into merchants. And on occasion, there were a combination of all of these. In reality, all of the nomadic people were very different, and all of their different legacies should live on for many years.